And we have this Audi A3 in for an oil change, and we're doing the cabin air filter and the air filter as well. Here's the old air filter and the old cabin filter. New man filter for the oil, and we put Motul 530 in there. Here we have a brand new Rav4 Hybrid. This car has a little speaker on the front of the car, which generates some noise at low speeds and also while reversing. You may have heard it if you've been near these cars. Customer finds it very annoying, so we'll see what we can do about it as far as making it quieter or disabling it altogether. You can't just unplug it, as that will generate an error message on the car. And there's the little speaker right there, Toyota Denso. And it's not quite as simple as just unplugging that speaker. If you do, you get this message: proximity notification system malfunction. As you can see, this car only has 20 kilometers on the clock. Customer is really sensitive to these noises, and she can't stand this car at all. She says if she can't get this resolved, she would probably have to get a new car and trade this one in. And as you can hear right now, there's no sound and no more error message. So we put in a resistor for the circuit. So far seems like it's working. Car's not throwing any error message. And right now we got this 2008 Cayenne in for a head unit replacement. These cars have the PCM 2.1 system in it. Everything works with this system, and the good thing about it is that even though it's all amplified and stuff, this car specifically, even though it's a GTS, it doesn't have backup sensors, it doesn't have, you know, factory camera or anything like that. So not too bad as far as like what we need to retain. So all we need to retain right now is the steering wheel controls and the factory amplifier. And there we have the Alpine ILX W650 installed on this Cayenne with the access, I forgot what the module is called, the PO32 I think. We have the USB cable coming out right there. This is all leather. I didn't want to drill into it at all. It's all very soft. It's super high quality GTS first generation Cayenne. And we have our microphone right there. And this is the Android Auto interface. Let's see, there's podcasts, Google Maps. What's the time?
7:16 p.m.
That's usually what I do to test the microphone if it's working. Sometimes it's kind of annoying to call someone, so you just hit the mic button. There's also one on the Alpine right there. That will trigger the Google Voice Assistant. We also have steering controls. You can see when I press, get the prompt on the screen. That's through the Access ASWC, which is a part of the kit for this car. The only thing that this deck is missing is an illumination wire. So how Alpine does it, they go by a light sensor basically, and so you see it's dimming the screen now. Now that I turned off our little spotlight there, it's dimmed the screen, and it's even switched over to night mode. So there's a light sensor somewhere on the front of the Alpine head unit. The module itself does have an illumination wire, but in this case we don't use it. Now, one of the cool things with this CAN bus module is that we're getting accessory power straight off the module, and what that means is when you pull your key, it's going to turn off the accessory, and that's going to trigger the deck to turn on and off. And then as soon as you plug in the key, it all wakes up all at once, all in sync. And there's the rear camera display. Right now the trunk's open, so we're looking at the ceiling. And today we've got this 2008 E90 335i. It's in for a new ballast. And basically, passenger side was okay. Customer changed the bulb, and the bulb was a turn on. And for this car, to change the ballast, we do need to take the bumper off and the headlight out a bit to get access to it. And that's the factory ballast right there. We have our Lumens direct fit ballasts, which are about $200. per ballast. These factory ones are about $1,000 each from the dealer, so you save a lot of money this way. Fix up this car and it should be good for at least a couple of years. And we've got this Accord here, brand new Accord, with an 18% rear tint and 70% front tint, as well as the Viofo A119 V3. As you can see, running in parking mode. Now that we have it outside, I can show you the tint again. There's the 18. You can still see through to the white car on the other side. It's maybe a tad bit darker than, say, what's on this Range Rover Sport from the factory. Actually pretty similar. And we got this Nissan Kicks in for lighting upgrade, and the Thinkware F800 Pro. Got the F800 Pro there. This one surprisingly doesn't have anything up here on the window. Most new cars have a lot of stuff there. And it's pretty loaded. It's got the Bose system here too. And a rear camera. You can see there. And it basically all matches. Your factory DRL, the accent lighting, the fog light, and the low beam. Red alligators on this RDX. And we got this Grand Cherokee in for some new wheels. These are from Fasco with the Michelin Cross Climate All Weathers. And these are the factory wheels. And here we have a 2017 Corolla. Factory radio is not turning on. Customer tried changing the fuse a few times, but it's just not doing anything. It will turn on briefly and then it will cut the fuse. So definitely something broken inside. We're doing a whole radio replacement for this car. Hopefully the steering control and all the backup camera and stuff still works. So I think we figured out what the issue with the factory radio is. Customer has 2 kids and they kind of treat it as their own personal piggy bank. So luckily the factory backup camera works, and we have the Alpine head unit hooked up. We're just going through the app with our customer for a bit. Mic is up there, and yeah, it's a gloss black. You know, this Alpine head unit's got that bezel-less look, so the dash kit is gloss black, and then on top we have the factory Toyota panel that's gloss black. It's pretty nice. And we were also able to retain the USB port here as part of the Crux wire harness kit, which has a steering control, backup cam, and that USB. And today we're doing this 2008 Prius with factory HIDs, actually. D4 HID on this car. And what happened is the passenger side headlight was replaced at some point. For some reason, that side headlight was only work for a few seconds and then it would turn off. Customer tried replacing the bulb, doesn't seem to fix it, so we're doing a ballast replacement now with the lumens. That's the part number there, BALD24D1, and they got all the factory style connectors. And we've run the headlight for about 10-15 minutes and it seemed pretty stable, so I think we're good to go with that side. The other side I guess was not replaced when, I guess this car must have been in some kind of accident, so this side looks pretty crappy compared to the new one. The newer housing, new bulb, new ballast versus the old stuff, but pretty impressive. I mean, Toyota threw in HIDs in this age, and given the car's mileage and age, it's pretty normal for a ballast to fail. There's a new ballast, lumens, a lot cheaper than the OEM one. This car, I think the OEM ballast was around $400 to $500. Compared to at least the BMW we did the other day, that one was about $1,000 for the ballast. So a lot more reasonable, but still our lumens ballast is, I think, $180 for this one. Here we have the new Mazda 3 Sport. We did the Q800 Pro, on this car, and with a Cellink Neo. Cellink Neo is just under the seat there. I'm just gonna, yeah, so these cars are a little bit tricky because the fuse box does not have any ignition switch fuses in it, and Cellink Neo, and any battery pack for that matter, needs to use an ignition switch fuse because you need it to stop charging basically once the car is turned off. So there's the battery pack there, is all velcroed in, and then the floor mat will basically hide it. But so we have the output and the input, and it has to be ignition switch because that will tell the camera, that triggers the accessory wire on the output side, switches the camera in and out of parking mode. And also, you don't want it to drain any power while your car is off. That's the whole point of the battery pack, is that you don't, not only getting more recording time, but you don't have any issues with battery drain. And then with the rear camera, we have right there, going through the grommets and through the hatch there. So, and here we have this Dodge Challenger Redeye. It's a Hellcat with the 800 horsepower setup. We did the iRoad X9. So a customer brought his own iRoad dash cam from Hong Kong. These are really popular cameras in Hong Kong because of the high heat. We're not a huge fan of the iRoad cameras just because the parking mode's not buffered, and that's one of the big things with the Thinkware dash cams that's like really nice. But it's really low profile. It's a sick looking camera. Customer mounted it where he wanted it, so really high up, which is nice and discreet. Not quite as centered as we normally do it, but that's a good spot for it too. GPS there, and then rear cameras back there. And for this car, we have the wire running along the headliner here down to the fuse box in the trunk. And the fuse box for these cars is just down here in the cubby there. For this car, it's got the 2 Harman Kardon subs. On the other Chargers and Challengers we've done, I think the fuse box is kind of more central, but this one they moved it, kind of tucked it over here. And there's the rear camera off to the driver's side a little bit. And the reason why customer decided to put it there is that the wire, if you put it dead center, you'll see it through the third brake light. So it's a lot more discreet in this spot. The default setting in the parking mode is like this. Some people really like it because it does kind of warn off people. It draws a lot of attention to itself. It does draw a lot of attention to itself there. The rear camera, on the other hand, is just a solid light. So kind of interesting how this car is set up. And here we have the brand new 3 Series in for the Thinkware FA200. There's the rear camera